Hello, welcome to class 11 of the ArchiCad 23 online course. Here we start section 3 and we will proceed with structural lessons in this class. Open the file, Orlando House class 11 start. Opening this file, you have the red structure, the most elements we modeled on last classes and others I added in this file. I finished the swimming pools and this part of the structure that we'll finish later. So basically in this class, I'm going to teach how to design structures in 4 different ways from the conventional way we have learned using tools such as columns, beams, slabs and walls. The 4 ways are the following: using ArchiCad library, importing standard steel profile, complex profile, structure of variable sections. Starting by ArchiCad library, go to Object Tool, it's this chair icon. You can do a double click to enter on Settings dialog. Inside here you see the ArchiCad library. We have linked libraries. ArchiCad library 23, and the entire library will be explored in other classes. Now we're gonna see the 1.4 folder, building structures. So here we have some structural elements that may be applied on the project. The first one is cladding, a metal sheet used to do steel deck slabs. You can choose several profiles, and all dimensions are changeable. It's a parametric object. You could change thickness, angle, and you can do a sloped element, chamfered, 2D representation, and so on. In this window, always you have the object in floor plan, in elevation, in 3D, the icon image, and information. Proceeding on library, we can see here there are concrete structures. In this folder, we have precast beams in different profiles. In columns, precast column and precast haunched column. This pillar is a very interesting object. I will insert in 3D to show. Selecting it, you get adjusting even on 3D these support heights. Clicking on pink point. Here we have this option Move Node. So you can elevate as you want, or even type a value, specific value, in this object. And we have the option in Settings dialog to add more haunches on the other sides. So here we have, and it will be created, and I can set the height manually, clicking on pink points and typing some value if you want. I'll delete. Proceeding on library, you can see foundation, precast concrete slab, where you can do a solid flat or some hollow core types. We have moldings, roof construction. I can change the display mode for libraries, large icons, medium icons, or list. I prefer to use medium icons. So after we have steel structures, curved beams, light steel beams and columns, space frames. This space frame specifically is a very cool object. You can write the number of cells here, the bar dimensions. So let's see in 3D. Coming back to library, we also have steel beams and columns in other profiles, steel frames in portico, steel joists. Here we have historical columns to do historical buildings, curved ramp and straight ramp, vaults, wall extras, and wood trusses to create a roof structure. Okay, so this is the way of doing structures with ArchiCAD library. An important thing is, after inserting the object, like this ramp, is to set the element on structure layer. So here you have the Arc4 structure. And on classification and properties, you could set the element in structure function as a load-bearing element. Okay, the second method is importing a standard steel profile. Go to Options, Complex Profiles, Import Standard Steel Profile. There are patterns from several countries. Here I choose Brazilian industry. There are many shapes, different profiles, using rectangular hollow, for example. You can see the dimensions indicated in the figure as G1, G2, G3, and here in the list, the dimensions for each one. So I can choose one and click in Add Profile to the project. The file is added to be imported. I'll choose one more profile. Add profile to the project and click Import. From now on, these profiles will be available to be used with Column tool and Beam tool. So entering on Settings dialog in Column tool, here in Segment, you can choose a complex profile. And here on the list, I see the imported profiles. Select one. I could override the surface as I want. Put up yellow paint. Okay. I can insert the column. Using this profile, I can edit the element freely. So I can add the stretch height, slanting. So here we have all the options available. Here I can put it as a vertical column, and then stretch height, slant, so there are many options for these objects. And as I said, I can use it with Beam tool in Segment, Complex Profile, I choose in the list, and then I can design the beam. Therefore, this is how you can work with standard profiles. Now, let's work with the third method, complex profile. We're going to use the complex profile in the house in this concrete structure here, above the kitchen and the wet bar. I need to do a chamfered structure, and basically I need to design the same shape that I have on vertical, but now on horizontal. To make it, I'm going to use the Beam tool, but before I will design a specific profile. Click in Options, Element Attributes, Profile Manager. Click New. I will type Beam 1. Inside here, draw a horizontal line here from the origin point, 1 meter. On vertical, 80 centimeters. (20 centimeters), and complete the connection in 45 degrees. It's a hollow element, so I will copy this line, Control Shift D, 20 centimeters. Here, 10 centimeters, I have a perpendicular snap guide. And here, 10 centimeters. Now I can use, selecting the lines, the option Intersect. Selecting the lines I have here, Intersect. Or even I can use the Trim command, pressing the Control key, a scissor appear, and I can click to cut. Now I may use Fill Tool. Press spacebar to use magic wand, click, the space is filled. I change the building material to reinforced concrete structure. To make it as a hollow structure, I need to select the fill, click on Fill Tool to activate the command, press spacebar to use magic wand, click, and it's done. This fill is the element to be extruded, and I will mark to use with bin. Here on Override Surface, I will mark to use Concrete Light, and Show Cut End Lines as a black pen, 101. I'll click to save, close the window, and go to first floor. Now here I am on worksheets, the first floor on stories, and put as reference the first floor in DWG. So now I can design, select the bin tool. In settings, I choose complex profile, and I select the profile that I created, bin 1. Here I will turn off override surfaces, and I'll press OK. I paid no attention to the level, but I can adjust on 3D. I'll click to design the bin. Now going to 3D, you see the element above. I will select, I will drag Ctrl D, and using a reference point from the existing bin, I can set the element. And here at the edge, we're gonna do a closure. We have this hollow profile, and now we need to close the structure. So go to Options. Here I can override the surface too, and put as Concrete Light. And now go into Options, Element Attributes, Profile Manager. I'll select bin 1. And we're gonna do a new profile based on this, so click on Duplicate. I'll type bin 2. Click Edit. I will erase the fill and internal lines. Using Fill Tool again, I'll press space bar, click. Change again to reinforced concrete. I can override the surface to use Concrete Light. cut end lines 101, and I will save this object. Now in floor plan, I drag a copy of this element, Ctrl-Shift-D. Click on Node to use Strat. I can adjust the element. And now I change this copy for bin 2. And on 3D, you can see the result. Now, on the other side, this set is grouped. I will activate suspend groups. And now I can strat hide only in this wall. So I will click here. I have the option is strat hide. So now you can see the connection is made in a perfect way. Going to floor plan, I will copy these elements, Ctrl-Shift-D, Ctrl-Shift-M to mirror a copy. I'm going to use this middle point as a reference, and you can check on 3D. I need to correct the connection here, strat hide. And okay, now the structure is done, and the fourth method is the structure of variable sections. It's a new function on ArchiCad 23, so let's explore it. Going to column 2, here in settings dialog, I choose a basic structure here, rectangular, 50 by 50 centimeters, surface concrete light, and column height will be a not linked element, 4 meters high. I put a vertical column. I insert the column on ground floor. And now I'm going to do a bin. And in my example, I will create a precast concrete structure. So go to Options, Element Attributes, Profile Manager. I'll click New and type Precast Bin 1. Okay, using line 2, a sequence of lines, I design here 50, 20 centimeters on vertical, 10, 70, 30 centimeters. Now I have a reference here. I'll click another point here and finalize the polygon. Now I will put this element in the middle of the origin point, because this point defines the axis on modeling. Use Fill Tool again. I change to Reinforced Concrete. Use with bin. Save. I can close the window, and here on 2D, I'm going to use the bin tool, segment. I will select the precast bin 1, override surfaces. I'll put light gray just to have a contrast between them. So here I have paint, light gray. Okay, I'll draw the bin, and on 3D I can make an adjustment, And now I'm gonna show how to do variable sections even on 3D window. Select the column and you see this blue line on axis. Clicking on it, you can see the floating palette. We have this option split segment. And now click at the bottom part of the bin, the bottom part of this T profile, and after clicking again on the reference line, split segment, at the bottom part of the bin. And I'll click again to do another segment, and I'll type a distance here. So 30 centimeters. And here on info box, in cross-section size, I'll change here to tapered size. And also unlock these dimensions to edit freely. So here on 3D, you see this edit command. I click edit, and now inside here I am on editing mode of this column tool, and inside this edit mode you can select a segment separately, and clicking on node we have this option in floating palette, straight cross section width symmetrically, and I'll type 90 centimeters. Selecting the section below, you can click on node. I'm gonna use the same command, but now I'll change here to a variable section. It's not accepting. I need to turn off this option. Now it is unlocked and I can do. And so you see the changing only on the upper surface, and we have our column done. Inside the edit mode, you see the column in highlight and the rest of the model in light gray. Here you can close, I'll close the trace and reference window, and here you can close the environment to see only the element you are editing. And I'll click here to exit edit mode. Doing now the bin editing, select the bin, clicking on the blue reference line, we have split segment again. Use the support of the column to click. After that, I'll click again on reference line, split segment, and I'll type 30 centimeters to do another section. And to make the variation on bin section, first we have a part that is upon the support, but it is modeled entering into the column. So in this situation, we need to add modifiers to profile. Go to options, element attributes, profile manager, select the precast bin 1, I'll click edit, and here on modifiers tab, I'm gonna do a new modifier. I'll type 1, and clicking into this line below, dimension is displayed, and I'll catch this point. Another click, and therefore this profile can be moved inside this gap. I'll save, close the window, select the bin, edit, and selecting the first section, this blue line appears. Clicking on it, using the option Offset Edge, I can elevate this profile. Here in this section, I need more modifiers to do what I want. So I will exit edit mode, go to options, element attributes, profile manager. Editing again the precast bin 1. You can erase the modifier 1, and I will create new modifiers. Click modifier, I will type 1, select this bottom line, dimension until down 70 centimeters, new modifier 2. I'll click on the other side, here the same thing, 70 centimeters, new modifier 3, select the left line, and now 10 centimeters, new modifier 4, right line, 10 centimeters again. I'll save. Message appears saying that the element will be modified. I'll click OK. We can close the window. And here, entering on edit mode again, I'll select this section and clicking on this horizontal line using the offset edge, I'll type here 75 centimeters. So it goes up. I do the same on the other side. And now, selecting here this cross section, I can do the same, but now I'll change here to tapered size. And clicking on blue line, you can do this, you can elevate this element, making a slope on bin. I do the same on the other side. And so you can see that it is a versatile element, a great enhancement on ArchiCad 23 to do structures of variable sections. Okay, this was the class about different methods to create structures. Hope you have enjoyed. Until next time, bye-bye. Hello, welcome to the class 12 of the ArchiCad 23 online course. In this class, you see the stair tool. We're gonna do the stair going from ground floor to the first floor. We also have a stair coming from garage level to the ground floor. But first, we'll create this stair here on ground floor going to first floor. So let's check slab levels. Ground floor, you can see it is 170 to project 0, and first floor is on 493 to project 0. So it is a difference of 3 meters and 23 centimeters. Click with mouse right button on stories, story settings. You also can see this difference of 3 and 23. So going to ground floor, place the DWG reference. I'll place the DWG reference for ground floor. And as I said before, you don't need a reference. You can design directly on ArchiCad if you want. The reference is an option, and here it helps in the course. Proceeding, go to Stair Tool, and just before entering on settings, you see this little black arrow at the right of the icon. And clicking on it, you see some predefined options. These are the favorites. So I think that helps a lot is choosing a favorite that is close to the model I intend to do. In this case, it is beam supported stair. Then I do a double click and enter on Settings dialog. First we have general definitions, if the stair will be linked to the upper story or not. I'll put not linked. Level 0, 0 to home story, and height 3 and 23. Here at the right we have stair width. It will be 120 centimeters. You can set the connections on the start and then end of the stair. So I'll put start with riser and end with riser. Here I can choose the number of risers. I'll put 19. And automatically based on the stair total height, it shows the riser height, that is 17. And changing the height, it changes the number of risers. And changing the number of risers, the height changes. So it is a linked option. Here I can choose flexible going depth, and this variation is according to the parameters defined here below on rulers and standards, where you can define minimum and maximum values to riser and going. But here I choose fixed going with 29 centimeters. Here you can choose a straight or slanted riser and type the angle if you want. I want straight riser. Here we have some options of landing. Thread at the corners. I'll keep the basic landing. And here the baseline, that is the reference line to design the stair. Going to the next menu, structure, we have options for flight structure, and it can be monolithic, beam, cantilevered, or stringers only. The same options for landing structure. On both cases, I'm gonna use a central beam. Clicking on flight, we see settings about the beam, starting here in style and dimensions, the number of beams, section, building materials. So here we have some options. And going to next, here we have an option to use a thread plate. You can see here on 3D representation on preview. And it is a base under the thread. I will mark this option. Next, we can define the support type for threads. I'll keep this support. You could change dimensions. Next, we have end plate. I want use. And 3D representation. I'll put contour pen and cut pen as black 101. In building material, we have here the option of override surfaces. The metal element is using structural steel. Now mark override beam surface, and override the secondary support. So here I'll put paint titanium white. I'll mark here to change all materials at the same time. And here you can see these definitions. I'll do the same for landing. But here it's important to choose this option, profile flight beam. And in style and dimensions, I will select this profile, 240. And in landing, I'll keep the same profile. So here we have this profile. And in 3D representation, I'll change these options also. And here I'll keep the tread plates as steel structural, but here I will override the surfaces using paint white. Here I choose glossy white. So you can see these options, and next we'll go to finish. I can choose thread, riser, or thread and riser. Here I'll put only thread, and clicking in thread, here in the menu, you see the thickness, the offset to the core, and the overpass at the edge. In nosing we have many shapes to be chosen, and you can mark the sides to be applied to this effect. Next, we have this raised strip. We have milled recess. You can do these marks on threads to be a non-slip flooring. I will mark off. Next we have non-slip accessory. 3D representation. One more time, I'll put black pen 101. It is 0.1. Building materials and surface. I have the thread material, timber floor. And I will override surface with wood bit 01. Now going to floor plan display, we have here the settings about 2D representation, and keep marked up this option by model view options. ArchiCad will apply settings about 2D representation from the menu model view options. Marking off this option, we can make specific choices for each there. So I mark off, and in the list, I will keep just walking line and numbering. Starting here in grid and structure, we have in visible part, here at the left, grid and structure. We have invisible part, these lines. I'll put black pen 101. And hidden part, I'll put 170. That is my pen for dashed lines. In structure component settings here, I'll change visible part to a solid line, 101, and keep hidden part with dashed line, 170. On break mark, we have the spacing option. Here is 10 centimeters. And if I change here, you can see the difference in my preview. I'll keep 10 centimeters on spacing. And for a stair break mark, I like to use dot and dashed line with 0.3, 103, invisible and in hidden part, dot and dashed 103. And going to walking line, that is the arrow line, we have some options to appearance. In visible part, I'll put a solid line 103, 0.3, and hidden part 117. Going to next, starting symbol, I can choose the symbol type, the symbol size, I'll put 10 centimeters, and background pen, I'll put as a white pen and transparent. and symbol, here I can choose a type. I choose this custom type 1. And here I have width and height. I'll put 20 centimeters on both dimensions. After we have numbering, and clicking here on numbering, I can change the relative position on thread. I'll put 90%. And in text line, I'll put font size as 2 millimeters. And the text pen 110. So I finished there. I'll click OK. And at the ground floor, I'm going to use the DWG reference to do the first click. My baseline is at the right side. If it wasn't, you could change here. And proceeding the stair modeling, I do the next click at the first point of the landing. Now I need to change on floating palette to landing. Do another click at the end of the landing. Come back to flight. And now conclude with double click. So here we have this stair, but something's wrong. You can check on 3D. We did 2 landings, so I need to correct. I'll copy parameters, but I'll do again the stair. So I need to do the flight, click landing, now come back to flight. Now it's right. You can see the stair, and I can turn off the reference to see it better. And remembering, if you want to see line weights, you can click with mouse right button on empty area and activate True Line Weight. And now you see the real line weights of the elements. You can check on 3D. Here we can adjust some connections in this stair. You can see these connections here are perfect. But if it wasn't, you could change here on flight. You have the option support connections. And here you have the option to manage connections. So here I am using in the middle of the stair, in this flight landing connections, bisector. Here in the start, go to the start to see the structure entering on slab. So I'll change the start connection to horizontal cut. dy is the distance to slab top. I'll put 0. Clicking OK. You see that now it is right. And going to the end, we have here this connection. You see here a problem. And we have a slab that has 30 centimeters of thickness. Then in settings, support connections, here at the top, I'll change to horizontal cut. I'll try to put 30 centimeters. Now you see that is good, but here we have some problem too. So it's better to keep with 20 centimeters. The structure is entering on slab, but I could execute solid element operations to have the perfect cut. Now I'm going to do adjustments in floor plan. Going to ground floor, you see the stair is displaying the beam in the center, and I want a more clear drawing according to architectural drawing patterns. Select the stair, in Settings dialog, Grid and Structure. We have here Structure Beam. I'll mark None. And then you can see here the beam is hidden. In the first floor, I am not seeing the stair, so I will select this stair on ground floor, and here on floor plan display, I have this option, show on. I'll put home and 1 story up, and we have layout on, the options settings for ground floor, and above relevant story. It will show basically the same settings. So now going to first floor, you see the walking line, but it's without numbering. So coming back to settings, I go to numbering, and I'll mark this option, show above relevant stories. And then we have the right 2D representation on both floors. We still have the other options of 2D editing, selecting the stair and clicking on this button, Edit. You can see that's all gray, but it's just to change at the upper left corner. Instead of schematic, mark symbol. And here we can edit individually some elements. Click on break mark, for example, on these pink points. We can move the break mark. We also can change the break mark direction. And selecting the numbers, I can move each number separately. We can even rotate the number. So these are very useful commands to adjust your drawing. Finishing, I click on Exit Edit Mode. And okay, now that my stair is done, I'll give an example of 3D editing with stair. I'll copy parameters from slab on ground floor and first floor to create a new scenario. I'll click here on first floor. And the stair can be modeled on 3D window. So here I will make a little adjustment. Offset add. And here we can change the input method. So clicking on stair tool, we have this input method, down to up or up to down. I'll put up to down. And clicking on slab node, I can model holding shift key. So you could hold the shift key to keep in here, for example. So I can keep a straight line. I could complete my stair clicking here, or I can click in the middle, change to landing, and after that I could enter with distance. Pressing D, I'll type 120, come back to flight, and I can continue and do a double click to finish the stair. So here I will change this slab, and in 3D I can also select the stair and click on Edit button. Inside here I can edit freely each thread of the stair. So I can select one thread, clicking in the edge. I can use offset edge, for example. I can type a value and change each thread separately. And exiting from edit mode, I can click on the blue reference line, and here we have other options like curve. So I could make a curve in this flight. Or I can select one of the points here and the starting point, and I could use the command move node and change the angle in its flight. So you have many options to explore, to work freely with Stair tool. Okay, I will erase this example. And now this was the class about Stair tool. I hope you have enjoyed. Wait for you in the next class. Bye. Hello, welcome to the class 13 of the ArchiCad 23 online course. In this class, you're going to see the railing tool. It's here on Toolbox, and clicking on the arrow, you see the favorites. You could, for example, choose the wired railing, giving a double click, and I can model, giving a starting click, and a double click to finish. Selecting this element, in Settings dialog, I can adjust each element, the rails, inner posts, the dimensions in each option, sections, and so on. Showing quickly other options, I have railing with vertical bars, railing with glass panels, and we're going to use this predefined set to create a glass railing, but with a cleaner design, without connections and handrail. So let's go. I will erase this element, and in 3D, I'll model the railing for this stair that we created. Select this favorite, glass panel railing, go to Settings. First, clicking on railing, I'll keep level 0 to home story. Here, I can define the element to be static or associative. Static will be a independent and not linked element, and associative is an option to link the railing with a stair or a slab, and changing the geometry, the linked railing would match and move its nodes to follow the new geometry. I'll keep static. In floor plan symbol overrides, I'll put the symbol line pen as 101, 0.1, and layer Arc 4 railing. Going to segment, I change the height to 110 centimeters. Here I have the slanting option, choosing an angle. On reference line, we have the offset distance also. And here I'll put 6 centimeters, considering that it is the distance until the axis. Below we have pattern, distribution, and position. The first one is a pattern length according to the number of threads. The second is a fixed pattern, and down here you can define the starting point. And third is an equally distributed pattern, setting the maximum length between inner posts. So I will put the maximum length as 180, and the segments can have 160, 170, depending on the total length of the railing. After, we have top rail. It is highlighted on preview window. I'll keep this element in rail shape. Here I choose a hollow circle with 4 centimeters. Stainless steel. Next, vertical fixing is this element between the inner post and the top rail. I will mark off because I want to adjust glass panels. And next, we have 2D representation. I'll put visible contour pen with black pen 102. In 3D representation, I'll put contour pen with 101 and cut pen 103, 0.3. Fixing elements, I'll put 0.1, 101. Build material is stainless steel, but I will override surface with paint ivory black. Then we have handrails. In this case I won't use it, so you can press delete to erase it. Next, rails is this bottom bar. I will erase too, press delete. Inner posts, instead of deleting, I can change the profile to none, and the inner post will not be displayed in my railing. In panels, I will set the glass panels. Here in segment top, it's the distance to the top rail axis. I'll put 2 centimeters. Segment bottom, I'll put 0. Distance between panels and inner posts, I'll put 0.1. And since we don't have inner posts, the distance between panels will be 0.2 centimeters. Below, in the panel component settings, I will mark off fixing elements. 2D representation, I'll change later to see exactly what I need to change. 3D representation, I'll put contour pen with 101 and cut pen 103. In node, we have posts. I want to use posts on connections, so I'll put none. Going to connections, for top rail, I'll change the second option and change this value here to 5. Here on slope railing, I choose the second option. And ends, I'll put 0 to advance beyond the railing. Okay. I prefer to model this element on 3D, but here we have these round elements on threads, so to find the precision point is difficult. So first I will change the stair, and here on thread I will turn off this option nosing, and I'll have better precision points to model the railing. So I will choose again the railing tool. Here we have this precision point. This is the first click. After the second click at the start of landing, at the end of landing, I do the third click. Now going on vertical, I'll pick this point on thread. I'll click backspace because I have a point here before. So now, in this thread, and to finish, I have the final point at the top. You see this sign. And now I'll proceed clicking on slab nodes. And here in the end, I don't have a definition yet, so any point is right. I do a double click to finish, and here we have our railing. So first, to see that the offset is on the opposite side, so I will change here, railing, we have segment, and I'll change this reference line. And let's check on 3D. You can see here. It's important to say, an important thing to know is that this railing tool can be a good tool only for preliminary design. We can see some imperfections on connections, like here and here. Therefore, for executive projects, you may use other tools such as columns and slanted beams to model the railing. Here I'll fix this distance between glass panels. I have here on panels this distance here. I'll put 0.2. Now I have a better railing. And here in the end, I'll try to improve, I'll try to do the best to improve this railing. And here at the start, I will extend a little bit this top rail. You see the glass here. So going to ends, I'll put 10 centimeters. Now I'm gonna set 2D representations. Go to first floor. Placing the DWG reference of the first floor, you see that there's a wall here, and I need to adjust this railing. You see that the slab is above the railing, so I will select the railing, bring to front. We have also here the column. I'll bring to front, the slanted column. Here I will turn off true line weight. Click with mouse right button and turn off true line weight. And here I could adjust using the move node option. I can adjust this railing. And I can check on 3D. You see here the railing, the column. and the railing is almost inside the column, but we have here a spacing, so it is good. My railing is still with this black fill and dashed lines, so I will fix it now. Go into top rail, 2D representation, invisible lines, I'll put 102, and visible pens, I'll put as white pens, 126. It's better, but still showing glass panels in black. So now I go to panels. In 2D representation, I will mark off visible lines and hidden lines and put contour pen and fill pens in white, 126. Change all to white. Now you see the perfect representation for railing. To create the other railing, I can copy parameters using eyedropper. And in 3D, I will do the same steps. So here I select the railing tool, click on starting point, the first point at landing, here in the end, on vertical, and here the final point, holding shift to 90 degrees. I can now place 5 centimeters, or I put more here, 10 centimeters, and now pressing shift, you can follow the axis and do a double click to finish. So now, one more time I need to invert the offset line. Go into segment, I'll change the side, and we need to make some adjustments. As I said, it is good for a preliminary design. So here we have our railing in the stair. Okay, this was the class about railings. Wait for you in the next class. Bye. Hello, welcome to the class 14 of the ArchiCad 23 online course. In this class, we learn about ramps. On ArchiCad, we don't have a ramp tool. Here on Toolbox, we don't have this tool. So we need to use other tools to make ramps. Here in our house, we have used the roof tool to make the garage ramp. Now we're going to see how to use an object from ArchiCad library to create a ramp. I copy parameters from slabs on ground floor and first floor to create a new scenario to give an example. So using the eyedropper, I model a slab here on first floor, eyedropper again. You can check on 3D. You see these slabs. So we have a difference of 3 and 23, as we have in our house. In the slab of the first floor, I can change floor plan and section show on stories to home and 1 story down. So now I can see the upper floor projection. But I also have the option of keeping the slab only to be displayed on home story, turning on tracing reference and using above current story. So here I can see the projection as a reference from the upper floor. With this reference turned on, I go to Object 2, give a double click to enter on ArchiCAD library. 1.4 building structures, structural elements. Inside this folder we have two elements of ramp, curved ramp and straight ramp. Click on straight ramp. Here we have this option of ramp transition and go into the next menu. You can see this transition is a smoothing of slope at the start and end of the ramp. Coming back. Here, for example, I could have a ramp of 20% slope and transition at the start of 5% and at the end of 7%. You could check on 3D. Now, I want to use ramp transitions. We have three boxes here, and the ramp slope is displayed in three different methods. Proportions 1/5, percentage 20%, and degrees 11.31 degrees. And beyond, we have the option of mark here, define slope by dimensions. In this case, go to the next menu. And here I can type the ramp height, length, and width. Here on height, I'll put 3 and 23. And changing here the dimensions, you see the slope changing. For example, putting 17 meters of length, you see here 19%. And putting 25 meters, for example, you can see 12.92%. Next is ramp profile, where we have side flange 1 and 2. It is like concrete railings to protect the ramp sides. Here I'll keep just one, with 1 meter of height and 10 centimeters width. Slab thickness, I'll put 15 centimeters, and I'll keep the ramp width with 5 meters. Going to next, in 2D representation, contour pen, I choose solid line 101, and line above, dashed line 117. Fill, I'll put white pen 126. And at the right, we have other options to show break mark, walking line, start symbol, end symbol. And on next menus, I can set these elements. On break mark, I'll put dot and dashed 103, 0.3. Contour, I will keep. Walking line, I choose line below as solid line 103 and line above as dashed 117. Here I can change to floor plan preview. Start symbol, I'll put circle with 10 and transparent fill. End symbol, I'll choose the arrow type, width and height 30. Text, if you want to show the text in percentage, degree, length, and so on, I'll keep a percentage. Font size 3 millimeters and pen color 110. Orientation on symbol, I'll keep align with symbol. In material and surface, I keep concrete structure. And cut line pen, I'll put 103, 0.3. OK, click to insert. I give a click to insert the ramp, and I will rotate and drag to place the ramp on correct position. Ctrl E to rotate, Ctrl D to drag. Representation, it's right. Only the text needs to be changed. Change orientation, readable. And now you can see the correct representation of the ramp. On 3D, I can adjust the slab. I can verify on first floor. The ramp is not being shown because it is only on home story. So go into ground floor, select the ramp. I'll click in floor plan section and choose home and one story up. Now I select the ramp. Before I have selected the slab. So now you can see on first floor, the ramp is being shown. Checking on 3D, you realize a difference here at the top and at the start. And it is because the level on current story is 10 and it needs to be 0. So now it's right. The surface material is the building material, concrete structure. You can override surface. It is using this material. I can click override surfaces and I'll put concrete light. This ramp object has the limitation of not doing a width variation like we did on our garage ramp here. And this is the reason we did it with roof tool. Here I will do a correction here on side flange. I will activate this option. And on building material, I can override surface with concrete light. So now we have curved ramp in the library. Here we have the same options. Slope, transitions, I'll put 15%. On levels, here I'll type here 3 and 23, the height for the next floor. I can define radius dimensions by inner arc, center arc, or outer arc. I'll put inner arc. And I'll put inner arc in 5 meters, outer arc with 9 meters. So we have here an adjustment 4 and 30 of width. I'll put 5, so you can adjust according the needs. And next, I'll put the same settings of ramp profile. I'll put here 10, 100 of height, 15 slab thickness. In 2D representation, change to black pens, I'll put 101. Here dashed lines with 117. Background pens, I'll put white pens. Here on break mark, I can choose the 103. Use a dot and dashed. Walking line, I'll change to 103. and above 117. Here we have the start and end symbol. This symbol I put transparent. Here I change the arrow and put 30. On text, I'll put the font size as 3, pen 110, orientation readable. Representation and materials, I will override again with concrete light. And okay, I can insert even on 3D. And here on 2D, I use the commands drag and rotate to adjust the ramp. And you can check on 3D. Then have many possibilities using this object. Okay, this was the class about ramps. Hope you have enjoyed. Until next time, bye bye.